Can't stop, won't stop. AI CapEx reaching new heights as more business leaders race to get a piece of the action out of the fear that they're going to be left behind in the next technology revolution. The New York Times is now reporting that Jeff Bezos is creating an AI startup called Project Prometheus, starting with $6.2 billion in funding. Some of that is coming from the billionaire himself. He's going to go back, actually take a management role, which is interesting. Hasn't done that in a while. Ex-OpenAI executive Mira Murati is seeking a $50 billion valuation for her AI startup, Thinking Labs. However, my next guest says CapEx-heavy business models are not what investors want. Let's bring in Wealth Enhancement Group Senior Portfolio Manager Ayoko Yoshiko. This is certainly, I think, the conversation right now. The AI trade, with this race to get into the technology and to basically own the space, are there too many names now that are entering?
I don't think so. I think it's a difference between public versus private. We have all the public hyperscalers and the public cloud companies that are truly benefiting and funding this infrastructure through their operating cash flow. But it's the private companies, the ChatGPTs, the OpenAIs, the Anthropics of the world that really are setting the stage for what the consumer is going to access and how we're going to access AI. So they're, having more tech companies, I don't think it's going to be a bad thing, but it's really about following the money and where that spend is going.
We are going to get NVIDIA's numbers out after the bell Wednesday. What are you expecting to hear from the company? What is the measure of success versus the measure of maybe stay put on the stock right now?
Sure. I think from just a pure numbers perspective, I'm sure NVIDIA is going to do just fine. I think it's really more a sentiment issue at this point with NVIDIA and what expectations are. I think everybody's expecting a beat and raise at this point, just given where their valuations are. But we really need to see something around a $65 billion revenue guide for next quarter, I think, for the stock to really continue to push much higher from here. Anything less than that might be viewed as a disappointment. Yeah,
well, you certainly, you point out Cisco, which I think is interesting. They did have a good quarter. To your point, reasonable valuation, and you're sticking with Amazon and Microsoft, NVIDIA, Google, and Apple. But talk about Cisco.
Sure. So, I think Cisco is a name that is a beneficiary of the AI build out as well from an infrastructure standpoint. But its valuation is, nearly half of that of NVIDIA, right? Closer to about 17 times. Much more reasonable with a nice dividend yield. It's not growing as fastly as NVIDIA is, but it is a beneficiary, and we continue to like that diversification within tech.
My previous guest was saying that he's actually moved out of some of these healthcare names, just, taking little profits, kind of a small rotation. But we have seen that happening under the surface. You do have some picks outside of tech, and it's actually healthcare. Medtronic, they're going to be coming out on Tuesday. So what are your expectations there?
Sure. So we like Medtronic here as well. It's a nice diversified healthcare company in the med tech space. They've got exposure to cardiovascular devices, diabetes, which they're going to be diversifying or spinning out next year, and other areas in overall med tech that we continue to like. And so we expect a solid number from them in the mid to high single-digit revenue growth area.
Yeah, and we got to run, but you still like and own Visa. Again, playing on that consumer. That's despite that judgment that we saw after that 20-year battle with small businesses. Great to have you. Thanks for the picks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.